Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Lazz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday.
Hello, Walnut. It is me, Lazz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday. Just another Walnut Wednesday. Dork. How are you this week, Walnut? Let me know how you are going by sharing, tagging, joining my group, all the things. I want to hear from you. My topic this week, my walnutting this week, is post-holiday blues. As you know, well, by the time this episode airs, it will have been a little while, but I was recently on holiday, on a little New Zealand, South Island, New Zealand holiday. You can have a look at some of my little snaps on Instagram, on my personal Instagram, which is at @LazzMataz. I posted some pics along the way, so you can have a look at those. But basically, Geordie and I had a little holiday, winterish holiday in the South Island of New Zealand, where we flew down to Queenstown. So I'm actually from, if you don't know Walnut, I'm from Wellington, which is sort of in the middle of New Zealand. New Zealand is split up into like two islands, and Wellington is at the bottom of the North Island, but it's kind of like the center of New Zealand. Not quite, but I digress. So we went down to the South Island via plane, which is about a 1 hour flight down to Queenstown, which is probably one of the most popular New Zealand destinations for tourists. It's like New Zealand's version of a cute little alpine place where it's like snow. It was really nice in the winter, it's really nice in the summer. Everything is overpriced. But it's a beautiful, picturesque place. Even the airport, flying in on the plane and walking into the airport from your little plane is so picturesque. It's lovely. So we spent celebrating a 30th birthday in Queenstown for the weekend. Lauren, belated happy 30th to you. Even though I was there with you celebrating. So if you're hearing this, Walnut, share and tag Lauren at Lauren19 and tell her that belated happy birthday. But we celebrated with her, and then Geordie and I took a drive up to Wanaka, which is about an hour out. Again, lots of ski fields and stuff in Wanaka. That's where we had the most delish food. So check out my Instagram. My Instagram's basically food. Not gonna lie. Basically food. Spent some time there with two more of our friends, and then we dropped them off the airport, and Geordie and I continued on to Oamaru, which is a very cute little Victorian, it's got an old little Victorian part of the town, which Oamaru actually turned out to be one of our favourite places, and that's where I met fellow Walnut Rose, who's been on the podcast. So we got to meet in person, which was absolutely divine. What is not divine, if you are watching this on the YouTubes, is that my camera just ran out of battery, so the quality's just gone blah, and I am on the grainy, beautiful, plain Jane laptop. So here we go. Here's my little run out of battery camera. A good learning curve, I suppose. Anyway, so we went to Oamaru, and then we went to Dunedin, and we booked ourselves a little cabin via Canopy Camping. I think I did a reel on this on the Walnut Wednesday Instagram, but it's this beautiful little cabin about a 20-minute drive out of Dunedin. All open windows. You kind of just have to watch the video, Walnut. It was beautiful. So the end of our trip was just Geordie and I. Now, the reason why I want to share this as a walnutting on Walnut Wednesday is just as another piece of evidence as to how far I've come away from my rigid, masculine, OCD, organized to the T person, and kind of have relaxed more into a kind of go with the flow person, which is someone who I feel like I actually deep down have always resonated with on some level, on some sort of level, even though I still like to, you know, be planned out and stuff like that. I still am a kind of like, there is a mild spontaneous aspect about me in some way. If that makes any sense at all. Let me know if you resonate. Let me know if you are a former active relaxer who's been heavily in their masculine energy and rigid and uptight all the time and never really identified with it, and then leaned more into their feminine energy and realized you're not really that much of a feminine energy person either, but now you've found this really good, wonderful middle flow. And let me know if you can speak properly, because I obviously can't. I digress, Walnut. So yeah, this episode, this holiday, during sort of the end of the trip, there was a update that someone from Australia had travelled to Wellington, where I'm from, and flew home with symptoms of COVID-19. So the alert levels were sort of changing and everything was sort of up in the air, and the places that person visited was on like the special list of whatever that is. So there was this kind of like hecticness in the air, especially if you were up in Wellington, because change of alert levels meant that we would potentially not be able to get back into Wellington. Meant that, because I promised Geordie on this trip I wasn't going to bring any no Walnut work and no real work, so I didn't have any laptop or anything like that, so it meant that we probably wouldn't be able to work, because I think that if we did go into another lockdown again, I would be required to work at my 9-to-5 job, as I did last year. So there was that kind of looming pressure that might happen, and Past Lazz, I think, would have definitely 100% just got stressed and freaked out about it. But what I actually did, and what I ended up doing, was I kind of, my line one, my investigator, my need to know everything and have the I's dotted and the T's crossed. I kind of just had a plan A, B, and C. This is the worst case, this is the best case, and then we'll just see what happens. And I did, Geordie and I said earlier on, we're not going to just let this spoil our holiday. And, you know, gratitude and all that. There are way worse places to be stranded if your city is on a lockdown. I'm in the beautiful South Island. We had our credit card, we have money, way worse positions to have been in, so we just kind of rolled with it. And I was surprised. So that's actually my walnutting this week, Walnut. I surprised myself, and I'm really proud of myself how I handled it. I just rolled. I rolled with the day and was like, wonder what it's going to be. I didn't check the news. I didn't check the updates really. My family were sending me like a couple here and there. I actually, disclaimer, do not watch the news anyway. Pretty bad. But I wasn't kind of keeping an eye on it like fruity Past Lazz kind of would have. But get this, Walnut. So it's like the universe was like, oh, she's doing so well, let's test her some more. So we were due to fly out on the Saturday afternoon, out of our lovely, beautiful, blissful cabin. I'm not going to say it again, Walnut, but go and watch that video of that cabin on my Instagram, or message me if you want to see some pics, because delish. So we checked out of our little cabin. We texted our host and just said, hey, we're going, because it was a stay 3 nights, only pay for 2. So I booked it as late checkout because our flight was after 3 in the afternoon. So I texted saying thank you, and they were like, oh, you've got 1 more night. And I said, oh no, it's late checkout on our way to the airport. We get to the airport, there's been like all these alarms going off on our phone saying that our flight has been delayed by an hour, and we're like, oh, bloody hell, fuck's sake. We get to the airport, look at the board, and our flight's been cancelled. Ah, ah. So Past Lazz would have had a meltdown, but played it cool, went to the desk. What can we do? La 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 la. Anyway, long story short, we ended up changing our flight to a direct flight home the following day, and messaging our host and saying our flight got cancelled. Can we actually use the cabin for that third night? How beautiful. She had just stripped the sheets, but she was like, no, come back, of course you can, la la la. So we definitely bought them a nice bottle of wine and all that kind of stuff. So everything just worked out. The less I fretted, the more it kind of just worked out, which is a beautiful story in itself. And I like want to kind of like slap myself in the face, Walnut, because people who used to tell me these stories when my life felt like a pile of shit, I used to want to like punch them in the nose and be like, shut up with your bullshit about things always working out for you. But it kind of just did. The more that I kind of just relaxed into it and was like, I've got it good. I'm grateful. It could be worse. Like, you know, Past Lazz would have, you know, the more it did actually work out. So yeah, it all worked out. We had another night in our beautiful cabin. We got to go down to another city, got to eat a Southland cheese roll. We flew down to Invercargill where they roll their R's. If you're from Invercargill, I'm very sorry. Don't mean to be rude. And so got to see another place. Unfortunately, the pie food stops that we wanted to stop at weren't open, but that's all right because we did have a cheese roll, and we got a direct flight up to Wellington, which we weren't going to get if we had stayed in the place that we originally flew out from. So all in all, it worked out really well. Then the universe is like, ha ha ha, let's fuck it up even more. Let's test these guys even more with their positive attitude. Let's see how bloody positive they can get. So it was Geordie's birthday weekend, and we were meant to go up to Foxton. So we're in Wellington now. Foxton is like a 50-minute drive from where we live. And is it north? Yeah, north from Kapiti, which is where we live. And so we're driving up there, and we get a call from Jordan's mum saying that the roads are closed because of the flooding, because the weather's been so shit while we've been away that there are flooding roads and they're all shut, and fuck. And we were going there for Jordan's birthday dinner to stay the night. La 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 la. We were meant to have the night at home, but we got straight off the plane, straight home, had a cup of coffee, and straight back out to Foxton. So we were delayed there. The roads were not shut, but the traffic was really bad. So we were quite tired at this point. We had the lovely birthday dinner. We stayed the night. We got there. We didn't get stranded in Foxton. Again, there was that looming, the road's going to be open tomorrow. Are we going to be able to get home? I don't have my work stuff. But just rolled with it, had a glass of wine, had a yummy dinner, and we ended up being able to come home the next day and everything was fine. I feel like this is a really long episode. Sorry, Walnut, I'm telling you all about things in great detail. The funny thing was, Walnut, was the next day, I think, because we only had that day to come back from Foxton and then go back to work, I think, was the following day. So we didn't really get that day of rest that we sort of had planned. You know when you get back from holiday and you just want to like do your washing, you want to lie in your own bed, you want to have a shower in your own shower, all that kind of stuff, and just feel refreshed and prepared. I kind of didn't get that, and I was so overwhelmed to the point of like tears. I got to work, and the post-holiday blues, man, I remember them from being in travel, but the post-holiday blues was so bad. I just didn't want to speak to anyone. I wouldn't call it anxiety, but I was just so overwhelmed. So I just gave myself a minute. I just let myself acknowledge that I was feeling this way, and it's not that I pushed through the day, but I just acknowledged that I wasn't myself, and I didn't force it either, you know. And then I was saying that the following coming days, I was just like, oh, it's like, you know, it's like you never left. And then your holiday feels like a dream. Yeah, That's what I had. And do you know what, Walnut? I feel like that is when you're not fully grounded and embracing the present moment when you're away, which sometimes we don't do because we're on our phones taking the photos and doing all the things. So yes, the post-holiday blues were strong, the overwhelm was really bad, and I do feel like it was a little bit of like my body kind of like, because there was that momentum of high stress kind of towards the end of our holiday, and then when we got home with all the delays and stuff, there was that kind of looming stress that was sort of trapped in my body, that I kind of go with the flow with, but I don't think it really kind of released out. So when I went back to my 9 to 5, where there's corporate life tension and like your emails are full and all those kind of like human everyday things, kind of just bubbled up the stress and tension in my body and gave me the overwhelm that I was obviously keep storing from the trip that didn't want to come out at that point in time. I don't know any relevance of this episode, Walnut, other than I'm so proud of myself that I didn't like get bogged down about the stuff on the holiday. I'm also so proud of myself that I was overwhelmed and just let myself feel overwhelmed. I just like, there was this like, I don't give a fuck factor about me. And for me, little Dovey Lazz, little ex-people pleaser Lazz, recovering people pleaser Lazz, just had that like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, bitch, about you, about this work, about anything, because I'm overwhelmed. And I didn't have to parade around going, this gets me, ignore me, I'm overwhelmed, just so you know. I just did. I just didn't give a fuck and carried on with my work and did me and carried on. And it was beautiful. It was actually as hard and stressed out and overwhelmed as I felt. It's beautiful. So fucking beautiful. So, moral of my walnutting walnut is that even though in times of great stress and overwhelm and those clouding feelings, they do kind of make me, when you get to the other side of them, when you feel like you've done the walnutting, you feel good. If I had recorded this episode during that time, I wouldn't have been this like energy about it. There would have been none of that. But it felt so good that I don't give a fuck factor. It's delicious. Maybe that's what this episode should be called, the I don't give a fuck factor of overwhelm. Anyway, if you resonate, if you felt this feeling before, let me know. Share this episode if you have any golden nuggets, if you have any stories to tell of overwhelm. What about travel stories as well, Walnut? Travel is one of like the big pillars of just my whole life. I love traveling, so if you've got any stories, I'd love to hear them. Feel free to join the Walnut Tree on Facebook, as I mentioned, to share any of the things. But I hope you've walnutted this week, Walnut. It just takes one little small thing to decide to be brave, and you're worth it. And do you know what? We spend so much time worrying about everybody, but I feel like people don't really worry about me. You know what I mean? So I don't know, so much time is wasted. So when you have these moments of I don't give a fuck factors, kind of liberating. So may you find your liberation. May you find your I don't give a fucks. May you keep your fucks for yourself this week. Yep, that's my picture. That's all I'm going to share, Walnut. So have a wonderful week. I love you. I appreciate you. You smell good. You're amazing and you're so worthy and worth it of all the things. So keep a fuck for yourself. Happy Walnut Wednesday, Walnut, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.